Chuyến thăm của Tổng thống Mỹ Joe Biden tới Việt Nam có ý nghĩa quan trọng. Chuyến thăm Việt Nam của Tổng thống Biden đòi hỏi rất nhiều nỗ lực. Từ thời Tổng thống Bill Clinton, khi hai nước bình thường hóa quan hệ, các Tổng thống Mỹ đều đến thăm Việt Nam. Chúng tôi muốn gửi thông điệp rằng Việt Nam quan trọng với Mỹ. Đại sứ Mỹ tại Việt Nam khẳng định với VietNamNet. Gặp Thủ tướng Phạm Minh Chính, Phó Tổng thống Kamala Harris nhấn mạnh ý nghĩa quan trọng của chuyến thăm cấp nhà nước tới Việt Nam của Tổng thống Joe Biden theo lời mời của Tổng Bí thư Nguyễn Phú Trọng. Ngày 6 tháng 9, Thủ tướng Phạm Minh Chính đã có cuộc gặp với Phó Tổng thống Hoa Kỳ Kamala Harris nhân dịp dự hội nghị cấp cao ASEAN 43 và các hội nghị cấp cao liên quan. Tại cuộc gặp, Thủ tướng Phạm Minh Chính và Phó Tổng thống Harris bày tỏ vui mừng gặp lại lần thứ 3 trong vòng 2 năm qua. Hai nhà lãnh đạo hài lòng về những bước phát triển mạnh mẽ của quan hệ đối tác toàn diện Việt Nam-Hoa Kỳ, nhất là trên các lĩnh vực kinh tế, thương mại, đầu tư, khoa học công nghệ, đổi mới sáng tạo, giáo dục đào tạo, giao lưu nhân dân và khắc phục hậu quả chiến tranh. Người đứng đầu chính phủ Việt Nam đánh giá cao những đóng góp của bà Kamala Harris cho quan hệ hai nước, nhất là việc ủng hộ hỗ trợ nhân dân Việt Nam vaccine phòng COVID-19 và mong muốn gặp lại bà trong thời gian tới để cụ thể hóa các thỏa thuận cấp cao nhằm thúc đẩy quan hệ tiếp tục đi vào chiều sâu, hiệu quả, thực chất. Thủ tướng Phạm Minh Chính cho biết Việt Nam đang phối hợp với Mỹ để chuẩn bị đón tiếp Tổng thống Joe Biden trọng thị, chu đáo trong chuyến thăm sắp tới. Thủ tướng Phạm Minh Chính chúc mừng Tổng thống Joe Biden và Phó Tổng thống Kamala Harris và nhân dân Hoa Kỳ về những kết quả hết sức tích cực trong nỗ lực vượt qua khó khăn của đại dịch COVID-19, đạt được thành quả phát triển kinh tế xã hội vững chắc trong thời gian qua. Phó Tổng thống Kamala Harris nhấn mạnh ý nghĩa quan trọng của chuyến thăm cấp nhà nước tới Việt Nam của Tổng thống Joe Biden theo lời mời của Tổng Bí thư Nguyễn Phú Trọng và tin tưởng chuyến thăm sẽ đánh dấu bước phát triển mới của quan hệ song phương. Dự kiến, Tổng thống Mỹ Joe Biden sẽ thăm Việt Nam trong 2 ngày 10 và 11 tháng 9. Chuyến thăm Việt Nam của Tổng thống Biden đòi hỏi rất nhiều nỗ lực. Từ thời Tổng thống Bill Clinton, khi hai nước bình thường hóa quan hệ, các Tổng thống Mỹ đều đến thăm Việt Nam. Chúng tôi muốn gửi thông điệp rằng Việt Nam quan trọng với Mỹ. Đại sứ Mỹ tại Việt Nam khẳng định với VietNamNet. Chúng ta trông đợi gì về sự hợp tác mạnh mẽ hơn nữa giữa hai nước sau chuyến thăm cấp cao này? Đại sứ Mỹ tại Việt Nam chia sẻ.
Looking forward to welcoming President Biden here is the fulfillment of a phone conversation that President Biden had with General Secretary Wen Phú-Trọng back in March. And really it's part of a bigger effort this year to commemorate the 10th anniversary of our two countries' comprehensive partnership. And we've seen this in many ways, whether it's through visits by senior leaders, whether it's been a visit of our aircraft carrier, whether it's looking at our trade relationship, which is now at about $140 billion, making Vietnam the United States' 8th largest trading partner, where the United States is Vietnam's number one export market. And at the same time, we're deepening our economic ties, we're deepening our people-to-people ties. We have, for now, nearly 30,000 Vietnamese students in the United States, which makes Vietnam the 5th largest source of foreign students in the U.S., and I would love to figure out how we can keep those numbers coming up. Fulbright University down in Ho Chi Minh City just graduated its first undergraduate class. We've got Peace Corps volunteers teaching English here in Hanoi. We've had great cooperation in terms of climate change, and as well as working together on Vietnam's green energy transition. So lots of great things happening this year, and lots of great things just happening in our overall relationship. Well, I think in terms of our overall message, we've been fortunate, the U.S.-Vietnam relationship have been fortunate that every president since Bill Clinton, every president since normalization basically, has visited Vietnam. We wanted to send this message that our relationship is very consequential. There is intrinsic value in our two countries' ties, which goes beyond, sort of any other what any other country might think about the U.S.-Vietnam relationship. And so, as we look ahead to the visit, I think you're going to see a focus on helping Vietnam create an innovation-driven economy, in which it has the workforce, the high-tech workforce it needs to deal with the challenges and opportunities of the 21st century. We'll hear a lot about just our two countries' people-to-people ties and how we can expand those going into the future. Our health cooperation remains a strong feature of our two countries' friendship, whether it was working together to help each other during COVID, or whether it was our work on HIV/AIDS. And so in many ways, this visit, the big message is that the U.S.-Vietnam relationship matters. The work we do to show respect for each other's political systems, all that will be highlighted, I think, through this really historic visit, though. And of course, all these, they do take a lot of work, but in the end, the results are going to be, I think, very, very good for both of our countries. I would say areas related to education, for one thing. I think helping our two peoples to better understand each other, but also working with Vietnam to ensure it's at the workforce it needs to deal with 21st century opportunities, challenges. I think our work together on environmental issues, particularly climate change, and how to actualize Vietnam's own efforts to, very bold efforts to be a net zero economy by 2050. The United States very much wants to be a part of that, whether it's through financial cooperation or technological cooperation or human resource cooperation. These are areas that feature very highly on our agenda. John Kerry was here a couple of times with Vietnam about what we can do together to deal with the effects of climate change. And of course, Vietnam is one of the world's most vulnerable countries. We feel very strongly about the U.S. is the largest contributor to the Just Energy Transition Partnership, or JETP. And I think we're going to have conversations going forward just on how best we can ensure that our cooperation meets these important goals that Vietnam has set for itself. Among the most visible accomplishments, we've seen our trade relationship grow now to $140 billion, which is amazing considering where we were. It's like a 360% increase since we began the comprehensive partnership. We're seeing Vietnamese companies investing in the United States. We're seeing Vietnamese companies list on American stock markets, these are really important signals of just the increased interconnectedness between our two economies, and that's been a major accomplishment. And thanks to the hard work of individuals both in Vietnam and the United States. I think our efforts on climate are significant and will continue to grow. Again, whether it's through financial cooperation, technical cooperation, human resource cooperation, education. We love it that so many young Vietnamese, maybe not so young Vietnamese, students are in the United States and want to study. And we're proud that Vietnamese families are willing to entrust their children to an American education. And it's not just the sort of graduate programs or undergraduate programs that Vietnamese participate in, but we do so many sort of smaller programs. The United States government, for example, has programs under which young people can go to the U.S. for a week, a couple of months. I mean, giving a young person in Vietnam or the United States the opportunity to travel, to study, to learn more about each other's country, it will be really essential. All of these efforts stand on the foundation built by people-to-people ties, built by understanding and trust. This year we're celebrating the 35th anniversary of joint field activities in which Americans and Vietnamese go out together to try and investigate and hopefully account for missing Americans from the war. This is an incredibly humane and humanitarian effort that Vietnam is helping us to undertake, and I know there are hundreds, thousands of Americans who are supremely grateful to what Vietnam has done. And we ourselves, a couple of years ago, kicked off a program, an initiative to help Vietnam account for its own war missing using both archival research and DNA analysis. And hopefully this will bring closure to Vietnamese families the way that Vietnam's own efforts have brought closure for American families. And of course the war legacy effort includes cleaning up dioxin sites, whether it's at Đăng Airport or currently at Bien Hoa Air Base, helping to clean up unexploded ordnance left over from the war, assisting people with disabilities. I mean, these are all part of this effort which predates normalization. I mean, these efforts go back, help to create the foundation of trust between our two countries, which we continue to benefit from even